Welcome to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, soon to be joined here by Rob, who will be with us there shortly. He's just finishing getting back home from work after a long day of work there. That man works way too many hours. Keep telling him that all the time. Then he hangs out with us and just does some more work. So just insane. But we got a lot of stuff to go over with you guys here. So we're going to go over all the update on the injury news, as Brian Daboll did talk to the press here with the start of the OTAs and give update on a lot of the big players there. Of course, with that, the OTAs themselves, we got to go over that and give you guys everything going on there with you. And of course, we got a little bit of Giants news to go over with you as well there. So and I see Jay's already in the house there. Jay, you were gone the last episode. You missed it. You always complain a name drop, and we have, a guest. I think most people who are football fans know, Emery Hunt of CBS Sports. And there's no Jay there. You didn't see it. But like I said, guys, let's go over the news. We got a lot of stuff to go over there. So first off, like I said, we got to go over the injury updates. So a lot of players last year obviously were injured, so we have to really go ahead and go over all the updates and where we're at there. The big one was kind of a surprise to some people there, and that is that Malik Nabers is still battling a toe injury from last year. It's a lingering issue he's had there. Brian Daboll on that injury said Malik will be out here today, but he won't be participating. We'll be mindful of his toe that he's had. Nothing serious, but we're being smart with him in terms of the rehab part of it. So that's where we're at. So he said, our doctors or trainers, if you will, have a plan to kind of move him along, and he's been doing a good job with that. He's had it for a while, back in college too, so just trying to be smart. So, I don't think it's anything to worry about, but I think it's something to kind of keep an eye out there. Daboll did mention that he didn't have any kind of off-season, surgery on the toe or any procedures of any kind there. So, it's just been a lingering issue he's had. And let's be honest, the Giants don't want him injured. Of all the people to be injured, Malik Nabers would be a very bad injury to have there. Obviously a very, very, very big, important part of the offense there. Andrew Thomas also will not be practicing for now. He said there'll be a few guys here Andrew will be smart with and keep rehabbing him. There's a couple of guys that are sick, have a stomach bug that won't be out there. Anthony Johnson, he's another guy. He had a shoulder, but we have a good attendance. Darius Alexander is one person that I did hear also had that stomach bug he talked about there as well. So like I said, a couple guys that are dealing with some stuff there, but nothing too crazy there. That's at least it sounds like. Free agent Paulson Adebo, who of course broke his leg last year, they were with the Saints, was said to be taking it slow also during drills. Jon Runyan, Daboll said, in terms of the procedures, I'd say I'm not going to get into who had what, who didn't have what. Runyan will be out here today. He'll doing individuals. He'll do some of the install stuff. He's been rehabbing. He's doing a nice job with that. So he basically kind of said, confirmed like he did have an off-season procedure. Jon Runyan obviously got hurt last year. And with that, of course, was missing the first games of his entire career. But again, that seems to be the Giant way. We seem to get people and they get injured, but hopefully healthy this year. Dexter Lawrence, not much was said about it there, but he did say he was coming along. So, a few big names there, like definitely with the injury still kind of lingering from last year there. But again, they're going to be smart about it, especially with veteran players. Like, if it's somebody new that just signed up with the club and is still learning the offense and all, it's one thing. But, especially a guy like Andrew Thomas, you don't take risks. You don't want to go ahead and take that risk that somebody's going to go ahead and get injured and be out for the season when it actually matters, as opposed to not being there for practices that for offensive line especially don't matter much. Let's be very frank about that part. There is no contact whatsoever. It's just walk through your assignments on their part there, and when you're on 11-11, and then for the receivers and the corners and the quarterbacks, it's much more important for timing purposes there. So let's get into the actual OTAs themselves, and I'll answer Jay's question because I see you there, Jay, as well. Yeah, I did not watch the OTAs because I had work. Crazy thing there. But I went through and read all the reports from pretty much every reporter that I could find that was on there. So it's about 7 or 8 different guys that I read up their reports on. And a lot of good news on it there. Now, I will give people the heads up ahead of time. This is an OTA thing. Whenever there is a good play, keep in mind, it's a giant on giant play. Like the Giants are facing the Giants right now. Whenever there's a good play, the Giants and a lot of reporters don't typically tell you who had the bad part of the play. Meaning, if there's a touchdown, that means somebody gave up a touchdown. If there's an interception, that means someone threw an interception. Like they don't typically tell you the bad, just the good half of that. So practice was basically the first day, which is yesterday, the 27th, was mostly just individual drills, team drills, those kind of things there. The more fun one was today, which was the start of the actual, 7-on-7, 10-on-10 kind of drills there. And the practice was 100% set up at the 10-yard line. So in a red zone situation there. So a lot of touchdowns because of that. Russell Wilson threw a touchdown to Eric Gray to be the first one here to start the day. Darius Slayton also caught one as well. Wearing number 18, by the way, now, Darius Slayton. The next series there, Slayton also caught one from Jameis Winston. And then Winston threw 2 touchdowns altogether, one each to Jalen Hyatt, Montreal Washington, who, of course, spent the last couple of years with the Chiefs there. Greg Dulcich, the tight end that we got towards the end of the season last year, go along with Darius Slayton's. Jaxson Dart threw for 4 touchdowns, including one to his Ole Miss teammate from last year in Juice Wells. That's the undrafted rookie for age, and we got there from Ole Miss. Threw another one to Hyatt as well, and another one over to Dante Miller, Turbo Miller there, who also had a nice run-off pitch that he scored for a touchdown as well. Had 3 total touchdowns, did Dante Turbo Miller there. Again, you all know that if you watch the show on a regular basis, Rob and I are both big fans of Turbo Miller. I've been rooting for the kid. It's a great story overall. What interesting side note is, and I've read a couple different people say the same thing, that basically there was like glue on Brian Daboll and Jaxson Dart. Like Daboll was next to him pretty much the entire time. Listen, if he is the quarterback guru that people say, I'm glad to see that. That's for sure. I think he kind of understands the assignment here. This year is all about the growth and potential of Jaxson Dart, and he is definitely all over that. Tommy DeVito threw for 3 touchdowns as well, or to Jordan Bly, the undrafted rookie free agent from Gardner Webb, the son of Dre Bly. So the final quarterback breakdowns on 7-on-7 and 11-on-11s. This is according to Connor Hughes, who posted it on X, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it nowadays. Russell Wilson had 15 reps, all with the starters. Jameis Winston, 15 reps, all with backups. Jaxson Dart had 14 reps, 3 with the starters. And Tommy DeVito, 4 reps, all with the reserve team there. So you can definitely see that they are – the key with this is Jaxson Dart. They're getting a lot of time in with him. Your third quarterback usually doesn't get as much reps as the first 2 do. That's for sure. So they're definitely treating him a little different, which is good to see. They gave him a couple of reps with the starters as well. Again, good to see. At some point, listen, we all think that at some point he's probably going to be the starter. And I think barring any kind of crazy playoff run and it being a tight race down the stretch there, he'll probably see some time towards the end of the season. So it's good to get him time with the starters now, because that's much harder to do later on as the season's going and you're trying to, set up plans of action there. So these OTAs and the training camp coming up there shortly, those are the things that really, really need to get, time with Jaxson Dart to have with these starters here. Now, the other fun thing that I was reading a couple places too, as well, is the Giants were apparently moving linemen all over the place, especially the young linemen. Now, a lot of people I've seen kind of speculating this is for depth reasons. You want, if a guy's a guard, you want to be able to play tackle potentially as well. Or you want to play in both sides of guard, or maybe you put a guard in towards the center and let him play that position there, and try guys out of different spots, especially when they're younger and don't have a lot of experience. And it means you don't have a lot of experience with them. You don't know what their strengths are or weaknesses, just what you saw on tape in college. But I'm also wondering though if it is the Giants also just feeling it out and seeing where people are best at. Marcus Bowe obviously is one guy that I'm really curious about that. Again, he was listed as a tackle by the Giants. A lot of people, including myself, do think he's best suited as a guard. So he's one guy I'm curious about, as things progress this offseason to see where he ends up. As Brian Daboll did announce, like almost immediately after drafting him, that they're going to start him off at the tackle position. So again, I do think he's better off as a guard, but we'll see what happens. Obviously Daboll's got more time with him than I do, so I'm going to trust him and hope that he's right and I'm wrong at that point. Obviously, now with the line there, obviously Andrew Thomas and Jon Runyan Jr. also were both out, as we said. So the starting offensive line was James Hudson, Aaron Stinney, John Michael Schmitz, Greg Van Roden, and Jermaine Illuminor. So obviously center and the right side were all the same, but it was interesting that James Hudson is the guy who came in to replace Andrew Thomas. Again, that's going to be an important position. Andrew Thomas has been injured how many times now, guys? Every year there's the injury with him lately. So, hopefully this is the year that breaks that streak. But if not, it's something to look at there to see who's going to be the guy who starts at left tackle if that were to happen there. Now, another big thing you've been talking about all off season here, who's going to be calling the plays? Well, Mike Kafka was clearly calling the plays all throughout the OTA here. Now, again, is that going to be the way it is in the regular season? I don't know. We're going to have to find out and see what happens there. But at least it's a sign that there's a potential that Mike Kafka is the guy calling the plays here in the regular season. It might also be that this is something they plan on not doing in the regular season, but they just want to give a chance to have Brian Daboll sit there and spend more time one-on-one with Jaxson Dart as he's working and focus on that. So, we'll have to see what happens there overall. Now, on the defensive side, let's be honest here, it did not sound like a very good day from everything you're seeing there. We talked about the fact that, these guys each had 3-4 touchdowns apiece and only had 14 snaps apiece. So, that's a pretty high percentage of getting touchdowns there, obviously. But defense was obviously also put in a non-advantageous position, I guess is probably the best way to put it, by having them at the 10-yard line. But again, there were some good plays. Dane Belton and Micah McFadden each had a touchdown. Each had an interception. Now, again, they don't like to tell you who had the bad part. Ed Valentine did tell us that it was the interception was from Jameis Winston to Dane Belton as he threw up into coverage there, as he worded that into a crowd. So, yeah. Winston being Winston there at that point. Again, we got to take the good with the bad. Winston, he's going to give you some touchdowns. He's going to give you some interceptions. It's the nature of the beast is what he is. Now, Dane Belton also had a nice tackle for a loss on a quarterback run as well. Then, linebackers Chris Board and Darius Muasau also had some nice pass coverage plays as well. And Brian Burns had a play that would have been a sack had there be contact on the day. Again, there's no contact during OTAs. So you kind of have to go, okay, well, he got to the quarterback. He probably would have got him down and the play would have ended there. So that's what they're going with there. As I see a J there with is Ed Valentine, a friend of the show. He's not a friend or a not friend. I'll put it that way. We like Ed Valentine. We just haven't had him on the show. So we won't call him a friend of the show until he's on the show. But like I said, he's a decent source of information, that's for sure. He's pretty well connected to what's going on with the Giants there. See, Ronald says, I'm wondering how Hyatt and Neal are doing. I heard Hyatt looks bigger and stronger than last year. Well, that's not saying much because, quite frankly, it looked like a human toothpick in a football uniform the last couple of years there. I think there's going to be a role for Hyatt this year. I really do. We're going to get into him in a little bit there because the news story did break on him. But again, whenever you mention players on this roster to Russell Wilson, he makes it a point to mention Jalen Hyatt. He also happens to throw a very nice deep ball. There's some other issues that Russell Wilson had. He's an average quarterback at this point. He's not the one he used to be a couple of years ago, obviously. But he can throw a good deep ball still. And obviously Jalen Hyatt runs deep, runs fast. So I do think that they're going to see, a decent role for him, at least in the training camp and during preseason. And the Giants can do everything they can to give him a chance to be successful. It's going to be up to him whether he actually is, though. He's got to look in the mirror and say that, yeah, we haven't had the best quarterback to throw deep to, but he hasn't really added much to his repertoire, so to speak, there. So, I'm not sure. So, which way it's going to be kind of a boom or bust training camp and all for him, I think, where either he things kind of snap and he gets the right quarterback and all of a sudden he can, be a contributor to this offense, or you're going to go, okay, no, he's had every chance he can get, and it's just not that good. But like I said, well, time will tell there. Again, it's the first couple of days, the OTAs. You only have one day really with the drills like that, with the 7-on-7s and 11-11s there that you got a good chance to see there. Some of at least the plays there. Listen, let's be honest. The last couple of years, what's been the stories? The defense looks great. The offense looks horrible. The offense it was putting up some touchdowns today. It's a good change of pace there. Hopefully it's a good sign of things to go. But again, they're putting up touchdowns on our defense. That's kind of also a little scary there too. So, all right, let's get into the rest of the news here after we pay the bills.
Thanks for watching. Like the show? Of course you do, or you would have turned it off by now and not be hearing me. There are plenty of ways to support the show. YouTube is the best place to join us, and we offer memberships there with fun benefits like custom emojis and early access to video clips. Of course, there you can also send super chats and stickers to send one-time support payments. The best way to support the show is to buy these drunk idiots beers at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Along with one-time support payments, there are also monthly plans, so you can continue to help kill their livers each month. You can also show people that you are a goofball by visiting our store at 2giantgoofballs-shop.fourthwall.com. We got everything from shirts, hats, phone cases, funny candles, buttons, stickers, and even a 2 Giant Goofballs towel to dry off your goofballs. Of course, you can always support the show for free by simply hitting the like, subscribe, and share button wherever you are watching or listening to this. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It helps the show tremendously, and quite frankly, the Goofballs suck at marketing and need your help to get the word out. Thank you for being part of the Goofball Army and for taking the time out to support the show.
All righty, guys. Real quick, before we get into the non-OTA things there, I want to put this up that Jay put here. He said, conspiracy theory, they set up the defense to fail in these camps for social media clicks and to get fans hyped. I think it depends on the practice, to be honest, what they're doing. I mean, let's be honest. You set the ball up at the 10-yard line, there's going to be some touchdowns. So, and obviously social media and marketing wants their clips at that point there. But part of it is just what they want to set as a whole. Remember, like I said, a couple of years ago, let's go back to 22 even, where Brian Daboll was literally telling the defense, telling Wink Martindale what play the offense was going to go for, because they wanted to just test out the mental fortitude of Daniel Jones. I think that, again, you got to take with a grain of salt what you see, because either side they could be trying to test something out on, or they could be trying to, like I said, do a mental test on him, like they were doing with Daniel Jones those years ago. So, we'll see overall. But, it wouldn't surprise me if they were trying something even just to hype up and build some confidence in this offense. You got a lot of new players on there, not just, not just the quarterback, but you got new linemen. You got a new running back, obviously. You got a lot of new pieces onto there. So, again, doesn't shock me at all if they do that to a certain degree, but I think practice to practice, even, it could change what their goal is. And they're still going to work around that, because they're not going to give up how good the team practices and is prepared for this upcoming season just to get some clicks on Facebook and that kind of stuff. Like that's not going to make or break their season in the end. Ronald says, Carl Banks mentioned a show how he talked to Hyatt on how to get separation on route running. That would really help. Yeah, I mean, that and actually route running. So, Jay says, Carl Banks said he talked to Micah McFadden about how to tackle for half a minute, and he had no missed tackles this next game. I listen. Micah McFadden's a kid who's been working hard, so you got to give him some credit. That's for sure. Let's see here. Let's see. I saw Deb had here. Oh, here we go. Deb said, "I'd feel better. I feel a lot better if they picked up on the receiver." I'm with you there, 100%, Deb, 100%. I'm still hoping that Gabe Davis is somehow a Giant. We'll see what happens there. Jay says nobody knows Micah McFadden better than Drew Nabers. Well, I wouldn't say neighbors, but we're both in the Tampa Bay area. That's for sure. So, he trains in the same town I live in. So, as we have the one, the only Rob, there he is.
Me. I have made it today.
There he is, folks, directly from the car.
Right from the car. Do not pass go. Do not go $200.
He's still got the college shirt on, the slick back hair.
He's ready to
sell you something, guys. Be careful. He's here for a pitch.
Ready?
He says yoga partners. I'm not a yoga partner with Micah McFadden. Though, if Micah McFadden wanted to yoga, I don't know if is that a verb when you say it that way? Wanted to yoga?
I think it's want to do yoga.
Want to do yoga? Listen, I'm all for it. Like, he can just hit me up on Twitter or whatever, or X, whatever the hell you guys want to call it, and we'll set up a day to do that. That's not a problem at all. We can do a little DDP yoga even at that point there.
Listen, there's definitely better looking yoga instructors out there.
What, than DDP?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the man's like 70 years old at this point. People forget how old that man is.
Oh yeah, he's right around 70, right? 68.
Yeah, he's like late 60s, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's not actually a young guy, but hell, he's probably in better shape than I am. But that's not saying much. So
he's no spring chicken.
As Jay suggests, you're going to sell hot tubs, timeshares, cars, bridges.
What's the sleaze thing? Used cars,
trains, planes, and automobiles.
Oh my!
You just say "oh my." It was a John Candy reference, not a Wizard of Oz reference. Come on.
I know where you're going with that. Come on.
Anyway, let's get to the rest of the news here now that we're done with the OTAs, and Rob doesn't get his thoughts on there because he got stuck at work late. No way, there'll be plenty more OTA practices where that came from, Rob. We got to talk about two Giants being named in the top 32 edge rusher list, guys. Listen, again, there's not always a lot of opportunity for us to get kudos to any of the Giants players there because, quite frankly, the media still doesn't believe in us, and I get why. They're somewhat warranted. It's been a little disrespectful to a certain degree lately. But here's PFF, who wasn't very nice about their offseason gradedness last week, but now this week making a list again of the top 32 edge rushers in the entire NFL, and we had two. Now, I think you can guess who one of them is. Brian Burns. So they said Burns' first season in New York was a success as he posted a career-high 79.2 PFF grade, fueled by an 82.9 pass rush grade and 61 total pressures, both the second highest marks of his career. Now, that's the easy one. There's three edge rushers, guys, that are highly touted on this team now. You got Kayvon Thibodeau still. You got Abdul Carter, the rookie. Obviously, though, he's never played a game. So which one of the two makes the list? It's Abdul Carter.
Of course it is.
So they said projecting rookie production is always tricky. However, Carter led the FBS in pass rush grade 92.4 and total pressures at 66. He also ranked at the top 5 in pass rush win rate, 22.6%. He has all the tools to make an immediate impact at the NFL level. Carter has drawn comparisons to fellow Penn State alum Micah Parsons, who was elite as a rookie in 2021. Given his potential, it wouldn't be a surprise to see Carter crack the top 15 on this list next year. So now, guys, can we end the Micah Parsons comparison bullshit? Pardon my French.
Yeah. Oui.
But it's like, seriously, like, can we let the kid play a game before we start comparing him to a guy that we may not like him because he's a Cowboy, but he is one of the elite defensive players in the NFL. Like, to me, like, don't put that kind of pressure on this kid. Just have a good, solid, healthy season.
Yes.
That's all I'm asking. I'm not expecting double-digit sacks and craziness. Like, really, I think that's way too much to expect out of a rookie. And I keep seeing the comparisons. I get it. They played on the same team. They play the same-ish position. I say ish because Parsons was a linebacker in college, and converted to edge in NFL. Obviously, Abdul Carter converted the last season from linebacker to edge. So there's the comparisons there. They both wore number 11. Ooh. Both get 11 sacks now. Like, seriously, can we stop? Like, let the kid play first. Like, rookies don't typically do that. When Micah Parsons did that, he literally took the NFL world by storm there, so to speak, that rookie season. That's not normal. That's not a reasonable expectation. I keep hearing it. Like, seriously.
Oh my God, this guy broke all these NFL records, or this guy like did so phenomenal his rookie year. But this guy coming up could be him again.
Yeah.
It's called clickbait, guys.
Exactly. Like, and I'm tired of it, guys. Like, literally, he had 84 tackles and 13 sacks his rookie year, Micah Parsons. Is that really where we're setting the bar?
Listen, if he does half that, like, he's had a good rookie year, because like, you gotta figure he's gonna be on that kind of pitch count. Like, he's not gonna be in 100% of the games. Like, listen, I mean, obviously we want him to have those numbers, but like, let's be realistic. Like, he gets half those numbers. He had a good rookie year.
His rookie year, by the way, I looked it up to verify where he was at, because I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I knew he was a Pro Bowler. I knew he was first team All Pro. I remembered all that stuff. He was also Defensive Player of the Year runner up, not Rookie Defensive Player of the Year. He won that outright. Defensive Player of the Year. Could we not set that bar for Abdul Carter? Because that's goddamn ridiculous. Give credit, as much as we hate to, give credit to Micah Parsons for having one of the best rookie edge rusher seasons of all time, because that's what that was, quite frankly.
Yep.
And let's let Abdul Carter be Abdul Carter. To be honest, I don't even think he should be on this list yet. I think he should have to be a player in the league to be on this list. I just don't like putting that kind of pressure on rookies coming in. A lot of rookies take a year or two really to hit their stride too. Don't get me wrong, he hits the ground running and does that. Great, I'm happy. I'm not complaining if that happens.
But that's not a cry. Say he's a bust.
Yeah.
If he doesn't put up Micah Parsons.
He already had 9 sacks. Micah Parsons had 13. And I'm not even trying to say 9 is the bar either, guys. I'm just giving a random number out here. I'm just saying, like, there's a way for him to still be successful as a rookie without going there. That's just, to me, just a little insane, though. But I like the fact that the confidence is there, and maybe that helps build him up a little bit as he feels confident because he sees that people have confidence in him. I don't know. I'm trying to give this positive spin on it.
Yeah.
But like I said, Brian Burns, I think, little bit of rough start to the year he had, but he definitely earned this spot on this list. He definitely validated the first year of that massive contract we gave him. And again, he was injured for a good part of the year, especially the second half there. So, but as Jay says, Micah is insane. If he's 70% of Micah Parsons' rookie year, that's fantastic. Just the comparison is lazy. It's lazy to hurt him. Like I said, it's not a realistic thing to put on him. I really don't think it is at all. It's craziness. I wish people would stop making that comment. Like, he's going to be Abdul Carter. He's not going to be Micah Parsons. They're not the same person.
100%.
They're not twins. They're not like clones.
Winning.
Like, it's different players. What he's going to do is he's going to do what Abdul Carter does. As Jay says, validated. I thought you said Burns was overpaid. He was overpaid for what he had produced at the time. He had a good year last year and validated that 100%. I'll listen. I will not run from ever saying that I'm wrong. Occasionally, I listen. I'm not going to name any names, but I know there are some content creators out there that will sit there and nonstop like, "Oh, I was right because of this," and no matter what, time will tell that I was right. Listen, as of right now, Brian Burns validated that contract with the year he had. He was the second best player on that defense, minus Dexter Lawrence. It's the one guy who I would give it to. And as much as I still think it's insane to pay a player $30 million, a year, he validated that first year. He had a great year. He kept going out there. He was a team leader and played injured. I'm going to give him credit. I'm not going to be that stubborn to say that I was right no matter what at that point. At least for this first year, I was wrong. Hopefully, I continue to be wrong. I would love to be wrong.
It's a good thing that's on recording.
Yes, I know. It's like, again, I will always root for the Giants over rooting for what I said it as an opinion. 100%.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. We didn't say great things about Jaxson Dart coming into this draft. I would love to be wrong. 100%. That's more important to me, the team, than me being right. And again, I know some people out there that aren't that way, and unfortunate, it's the way they are. Some people just are that way in general as a whole, but I refuse to be. So, all right, let's get into a fun story here.
Ooh, I like fun.
Brandon Jacobs, his son is huge. One of the most ridiculous titles ever. So his son graduated high school recently. And listen, there's been stories about him before, about how he's a big time prospect, obviously. Going to go into Clemson next year. I think it's the first time people saw a picture with his dad recently. It's not, a lot of players don't put public, family photos out there on a regular basis, obviously, for, especially with minor children. It's kind of, a potential safety thing here. So his son, Braden, just graduated from Milton High School, which is over in Alpharetta, Georgia. Actually, the funny thing is, I looked up when I saw where he went, Alpharetta, Georgia, and stop, Jay. I see you with the eggplant emojis. I don't mean that way that it's huge.
Well, I don't know, Drew.
I do not know. Anyway, I looked it up because I was curious where this Milton High School was, because it just said in Georgia. It is in Alpharetta. It's actually right near a very great pancake house that I go to on a regular basis, and I had no clue. It's like 10 minutes away.
You could have been best friends with Brandon Jacobs. He could have been.
I doubt that.
I could have been name dropping him.
But maybe he and I were both in the same neighborhood at the same time when he's visiting his son there or something. I don't know. Who knows? Here's the key part, though. Here's the picture.
My God. Now,
keep in mind, guys, Brandon Jacobs, at his playing weight, was 260 pounds. He is 6'4". I don't know what his current weight is. I can give you just the original. That's his son next to him. That's a big difference. So he's 6'7", 320 pounds, guys. He's just 18 years old. Now, listen, everybody has different ages. They stop growing. They go through growth spurts, all that kind of stuff. Like, it all changes. I'm going to tell you all, I point blank didn't stop till I was 21. And I ended up at 6'7". Obviously, a little taller than the average person. He's 18. He's 6'7". Like, is he going to keep going? Like, insanity. Now, not only is he a player, by the way, for those who are always interested, because I love seeing about like kids who are like, children of former players, especially players that are rooted for, obviously. He is a big time prospect. Like I said, going into Clemson here. So he's a 4-star prospect overall, 51st prospect in the nation, according to 247 Sports, which is one of the biggest publications for high school sports scouting there. Yeah, this kid's a monster. As I see Deb there.
It's a fantastic comment.
Would not want that grocery bill. Listen, I don't want any grocery bill right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Seriously. Oh my God. Can I start growing my own food? Like, can we go back to those days? Like,
I mean, you can. You got chickens already.
I know. I can't eat the chickens, though. It's against county code for some reason.
Which is weird.
I don't eat the eggs. So, I don't know. Let's see here. Jay says, I had a friend in high school with 6'7". Everywhere when people asked him about basketball and he couldn't play. Probably Drew is similar situation. 100%. Drew is in a very similar situation.
I actually had 2 friends in high school that were actually 3. They were 6'7" plus.
Yeah. He says Golden Corral season, baby. I haven't been eating at the Golden Corral and I don't know how long. But yeah.
I've only been there once.
We just made the comments because it's the most popular, well-known buffet in the United States. It is what it is. But yeah, no, I'm telling you, I can't tell you as a 6'7" person how often people will stop you and say, you must play basketball. And my reaction is the same to every single one of them. Like, oh my God, you're so short. You must play hide and go seek. Or like, you must play limbo. Like, because it's honestly, it's a little bit rude to a degree. Like, you couldn't imagine going to someone really short and saying something like that, right? Like, would you have the balls to say, wow, my God, you are so short. You must be amazing at limbo.
I mean, I would. But I don't care.
Hey, anybody who's not an a-hole want to answer. I'm just saying.
Jay, like, put that emoji back up because that's what I am.
You would never do that to somebody who was short. Like, why would you do that to somebody who's tall? Or like, how is the weather
Drew,
up
you're
there?
Drew, you're really gonna get himself off the top shelf. Hey,
okay.
You're a person. Can you get this stuff on the bottom shelf?
Yeah, no lie. When we're like getting ready for a hurricane here in Florida, I avoid the stores like the plague because the shelves get emptied, and people will go ahead and try to get the same things. It's almost like it is in Jersey where people want the bread and milk. Like there's just people want things that are non-perishable in case the power goes out, basically. So like people always stop me in the middle of the aisle. Can you get that off? Can you know like the extra stuff on top? They want me to stop every 2 seconds. Like people, I got to shop myself here. God damn it. I don't mind helping a little bit, but eventually it's like, as Deb says, jockey at Belmont. But yeah. Anyway, back to the original topic here. But like I said, listen, congrats to Brandon Jacobs and his family and his son. Listen, it's a proud papa moment there, graduating high school. I mean, I listen, it's funny because I remember when I graduated high school, I'm like, listen, everybody graduates high school, don't they? But not everyone does.
No.
Not everyone does. And not to mention, listen, not only did he graduate high school, but he graduated high school with a full ride. Brandon Jacobs was on a podcast and said 35 offers his kid got to go to school, by the way. 35 offers. That's a lot of goddamn offers. But again, 51st prospect according to 247. So, I mean, yeah. That means he's probably like in the top 2 or 3, if not the top lineman of this high school class. I don't have that number in front of me, so I could be wrong. If anybody knows the answer, feel free to pop it in the comments there. But listen, that's impressive. It's impressive. That's you don't get that without putting a ton of work into it. Now, again, I've said it before. I'll say it again. When your daddy played football, you definitely have a leg up in the competition because he knows people that can give you help and he knows which ways to help you steer along the process there. Well, that's not me knocking him. I'm just saying it's an advantage he has.
Oh, it's also an advantage because, listen, when he was in diapers, his dad was an elite athlete and kind of showed him the way. And it's kind of implied that you pass that knowledge on going too. So when you come to, higher standards, like especially college, like, oh, that's Brandon Jacobs' kid. He got Super Bowl. Like, yeah, and
he is probably young enough. And listen, if anybody's high school age wants to tell me, he's young enough, Brandon Jacobs still, where people may remember as a very little kid watching him play football. You know what I mean? Like, you may not be like, oh, I remember seeing him a couple of years ago, but he's 42. He's my age. So it's like, he's still young enough that I think that like people can go, oh, I remember watching him play. I guess not 15. What is it? 15 years? Maybe not for now. God damn, I'm old. Yeah, he stopped playing in 2013, so that'd be 12 years ago. So yeah, they're like 6 years old, like kindergartners. Like I'm not going to pretend that that's even old enough to know who he was there at that point. I take back what I was starting to say. I'm just old. It is what it is. Way to have Brandon Jacobs' kid graduate high school make me feel old. Not even my kid. I don't even have a kid. You cannot feel old.
That you
God
know
damn
of.
it. We'll keep it that way. Thank you. Anyway, we got one more story here.
That's my favorite thing. Is on Father's Day, which is coming around the corner, people come up to me like, "Oh, happy Father's Day!" It's like, not that I know of.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I almost forgot. We're talking about how big his son is in comparison. Again, that's a big difference there. You know what? I forgot a key part of this conversation. How big the pancake is. That's the pancake at the waffle at the pancake house right next to where Brandon Jacobs' kid goes to. Went to high school there. I had to put it up there because that is an impressive pancake. That is the apple pancake from Old Fashioned Pancake House, which I think I've talked about in the show before, actually. Even that's like my favorite place to go for breakfast of all time. There are a couple up in Jersey, by the way. Like legit, that's a pancake.
That's a pancake.
That's a pancake.
It's a penthouse.
That's a pancake. I really had to get that picture out of my phone and put it on here because it's like every year, like whenever I go to the lake house there, that's what I do is I go there at least once for breakfast. I just freaking love that place. That's like good enough for 2 meals. Anyway, as I was saying, we got one more story to go.
Ooh.
And we talked about this guy a little earlier. And that's Jalin Hyatt. And we're finding out why Hyatt's in the doghouse. And we talked about this guy for a couple of years now. Like, listen, when he first came out of college and went to the draft, Rob and I, before the Giants even drafted him, said, we think he's probably going to go second round. We think he's a one-trick pony, and that one trick is speed. So it's a good trick to have.
Yeah.
But he's a one-trick pony.
Can't teach that.
Yeah. Has, I don't want to say underwhelming rookie year, but a little bit disappointing. He had like 300 and some odd yards there, no touchdowns. Like he did something, but he didn't really do much. You know what I mean? Like he showed something.
Yeah, later in the year too.
Yeah. Now this past year he did jack. I think I had more receiving yards for the Giants than he did. Like
you probably did. I think it was like 64.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous, guys. So we found out a little more on the story there. So this is from Connor Hughes. Friend of the show, Jay. Yes, friend of the show. He's been on the show. He said Hyatt mentally checked out of points last season after clashing with the coaching staff and upper management. There was no reason he should have been uninvolved as he was at points last season. He's a player with the skill set the Giants should be able to use. Some players simply can't get out of the doghouse. That was the problem last year. And like I said, it's interesting that he would have the issues, and I think we need to hear a little more of the story really to take a side because let's be honest. Again, we said it, one trick pony. His trick is speed, and you have a guy at quarterback the last couple of years who can't throw the deep ball well.
Yeah. So how is he supposed to utilize his trick?
Yeah.
When you can't, you don't give him time to get out there.
Now, I would say, silly Hyatt, tricks aren't just for kids. Get some more tricks, goddammit. Like, you need to grow as a player. You can't just be a straight shot 9-route guy that's going to run down the seam and be faster than the guy.
Especially in the NFL.
Because, first off, that may work, but you know what? You're one injury away from that not working. That's life in the NFL.
That's life. That's life.
That's life. Anyway, but I mean, like I said, I don't know. I think he can produce something this season because of Russell Wilson, the way he throws a deep ball. Again, I don't think Russell Wilson's the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not trying to say that, but he does throw a nice deep ball. And if you want to compare deep ball of Russell Wilson to Daniel Jones, yeah, that's a huge difference there, guys.
Huge upgrade.
But listen, nothing would shock me at this point here with Jalin Hyatt. I will say again, though, that we've had 2 years of Hyatt. We haven't seen much to impress us. We've got a guy now, we're talking about him being mentally checked out. That tells me you're mentally weak. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it like it is. Like, you're mentally weak if you're checking out because things aren't going your way. That is life sometimes.
I need a safe space.
And you know what? If he was smart, he would recognize that if you just keep getting open and you work on your craft and you get better, you know what's going to happen? Eventually, if it doesn't work out for the Giants, you're going to get out of the Giants locker room, and someone's going to be looking at you going, look at this. He's been really improving. They're just not getting him the ball. He's been open. They just can't get him the ball. But when you throw a hissy fit, and they don't even put you on the damn field because you can't act like an adult.
That's a problem.
It's a very big problem. So, he's going to have to hopefully have a veteran guy put him under his wing a little bit there and, put his big boy pants on for him and teach him the ropes like that. Because I'm telling you, that's something that when you are a depth piece and not somebody they think is a starter and a guy who's going to legit produce, when you're a depth piece and you're a headache, expect a very short career.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. So, and that's just me giving him honest advice. I want him to succeed. Again, he's a Giant. I want him to succeed. But it ain't looking good.
No.
Ain't looking good at all. So, all righty, guys. That's going to call it a night for us here. We will be back again, of course, for you guys tomorrow night. So that's our third and final episode here of the week. As always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter/X, whatever the hell you want to call it. And, of course, Rob's favorite, my LinkedIn profile. And, of course, as always, we're available the next day on all the audio podcast platforms. That is Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. If you haven't already, guys, do me a favor. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Again, appreciate you guys for all your support there. As Jay says, thanks for the show. No, thank you for watching the show, man. No, seriously. Yeah. And we joke around with the people. We like to bust chops, but seriously, we appreciate you guys for supporting the show there. There are plenty of things that, other content creators out there. So if you took the time to watch us, it's definitely appreciated. Jay said, just subscribe and they'll send you 6 videos a day. We can't do 6 videos. Listen, YouTube will only push out 3 videos a day, Jay. So if you're getting more, that just means you've somehow double subscribed to us. I don't know how that happens. That is YouTube policy. All right, guys. Again, appreciate you guys for watching. As always, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, Giant fans, go G-Man! Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.